Good day, my dear students. So, for today, we are going to talk about the historical foundation of education. Now, at the end of this discussion, you are expected to state the relationship of society and schools. Okay? Prove that schools transmit cultural values by stating facts from education history in the world and in the Philippines, and explain the meaning of socialization as a function of schools. Okay, so we are now going to know what is an education or school. Okay, it is an institution created by society to assure survival, stability, and convenience. Okay, and school introduces and trains each child of society with a spirit of service and effective self-direction. Ito po yung pinaka-mission. Okay? Have the deepest and best guarantee of a larger society with uh, a worthy, harmonious, and harmonious relationship with other people within the society. Okay, so according to Birkenhoff in 1989, socialization process is a process of learning the roles, statuses, and values necessary for participation in social institution. Okay, take note that schools are social institution. Okay, anticipatory socialization is the role learning that prepares us for the future role. Okay. Um, School is an important agent of socialization. Okay. It is tasked to impart specific knowledge and skills necessary for functioning in the society. And school is also tasked to transmit society's cultural values. Okay, so as we can observe, schools are really respecting the diverse cultures in the community and in the country. Okay, so we'll now go to the education in primitive society. Okay, so life skills included are tool or instrument making. Ito pa yung pinag-aaralan nila. Okay, and adherence to the moral behavior code of group life and language learning. Okay, so here is another definition of socialization here. It states this is the process by which individuals internalize the norms and values of society, and so social and cultural continuity are attained. Okay, this is informal education in action. Okay, now these are the key periods in the educational history. Okay, so historical groups or a period, and then we have the educational goals. We also have what curriculum at that time, the agents being used in learning. Okay, influences on Western education. Okay, so during primitive societies, that was 17,000 BC, 5,000 BC, the goals at that time is to teach group survival skills, okay, to cultivate group cohesiveness, okay, that is just their goal, okay, for survival only, okay, and their curriculum are the practical skills of hunting animals, right? Fishing, food gathering, stories, myths, songs, poems, and dances. These are just their way, okay, on learning, okay? And the agents or their teachers, those times are there parents, their tribal elders, and priests. Okay, and let us see the influences on Western education. There is an emphasis on role of informal education in the transmission of skills and values. Okay, take note here. It is just more on developing the skills for survival. Okay, though they have stories, they have myths, they have songs, poems, and dances. Okay, now we go to the Greek, okay, period. Okay, that was 1600 BC and 300 BC. Okay, so during the Greek period, their educational goals at that time was just to cultivate civic responsibility and identity with the city state. Okay, so as you can observe, it broadens. Okay, in the Athenian, to develop well-rounded person. Okay, and for the Sparta, to develop soldiers and military leaders. Okay, and the curriculum on the Athenian, okay, they have there the reading, the writing, arithmetic, drama, music, physical education, literature, and poetry. Okay, and in the Sparta, they have drill, military songs, and tactics. Okay, so as you can observe, in the Sparta, they are more focused on soldiers, okay, on military tactics, okay, and their agents on learning that time on Athens. Private teachers, so they have teachers now, and schools, sophist philosophers, okay, and in the Sparta, they have the drill teachers and drill sergeants, okay. And what influences that on Western education? So in the Athens, the concept of the well-rounded, liberally educated person. Okay. And in the Sparta, the concept of military state. Now we go to the period of Romans. Okay. So that was from 750 BC and 450 AD. Okay. So during Roman period, their educational goals was to develop sense of civic responsibility for republic and then empire. Okay, to develop to develop administrative and military skills. Okay, so their curriculum is they have reading, writing, arithmetic, laws of 12 tables, laws of philosophy. Okay, and their agents of learning was the private school and teacher schools of rhetoric. Okay, and the influences on Western education was the emphasis of ability to use education for practical administrative skills, relating education to civic responsibility. Okay. Now, during Arabic period, that was from 700 AD and the 1350 AD. Okay, so the educational goals on the Arabic period was to cultivate religious commitment. Okay, they prioritize religious, right? Islamic beliefs to develop expertise in mathematics, okay, and medicines and science. And then their curriculum was reading, writing, mathematics, religious literature, scientific studies. Okay, and their agents was mosque, court schools. And what influences that on Western education? Arabic numerals and computation, re-entry of classical materials on science and medicine. Okay, now we go to the medieval period. Okay, so the educational goals was to develop religious commitment. Okay, knowledge and rituals to reestablish social order, to prepare persons for appropriate rules. Okay, and they have their curriculum, their reading, writing, arithmetic, liberal arts, philosophy, theology, crafts, military tactics, and chivalry. Okay, and their agents of learning that time was the Paris chantry and cathedral schools, university, apprenticeship, and knighthood. And then, um, in their influences on Western education, establishing the structure, content, and organization of the university as major institution of higher education, the institutionalization and preservation of knowledge. Okay. Now, Renaissance period, their educational goals was to cultivate a humanist. Okay, take note, humanist who was expert in the classics Greek and Latin to prepare, uh, yes, for service to uh, dynastic leaders. Okay, and their curriculum is Latin, Greek, classical literature, and art. Okay, and their agents was classical humanist educators in schools such as lycée. Okay, now when we say lycée, this pertains to the secondary schools in France that is funded by the government. Okay, and their Western uh, influence is an emphasis on literary knowledge, excellence, and style as expressed in classical literature, a two-track system of schools. Okay, now we go to the Reformation period. Okay, and the goal here was to cultivate a sense of commitment to a particular religious denomination, to cultivate general literacy. Okay, and the curriculum that time was reading, writing, arithmetic, catechism. Okay, religious concepts and ritual, Latin and Greek theology. Okay, their agents, vernacular elementary schools for the masses, classical schools for the upper classes. Okay, and what their influences on Western education is a commitment to universal education to provide literacy to the masses. The origins of school system with supervision to ensure doctrinal conformity. Okay, now we go to our next topic, the history of the Philippines educational system. Okay, it is a sociological concept. Okay, so education is the function of the society. Okay, and what is taught there arise from the nature and the character of society itself. Okay, so education during the pre-colonial period, um, education was informal and structured and decentralized. Okay, it is distributed across multiple individual. It was not formal nor structured. Okay, so as we can observe, fathers are just the ones teaching their sons how to look for food. Okay, it is still on survival. Okay, and other means of livelihood. And then the mothers are the ones, were the ones teaching their girls to do the household chores. Okay, and teachers were tribal tutors, babaylan or katalunan. Okay, and our education here in the Philippines during the Spanish era, education has become formal and organized. Okay? Kasi may Spaniards na po those times. Authoritarian in nature. Yes. Spaniards are more disciplinarians. Okay, there is um, a mandate of authoritarian in nature po yung ano nila, yung system of education. Okay, highly religion centered. Okay, so as we know that Spanish introduces Catholicism here in our country. Okay, teacher Spanish missionaries. Okay, and wealthy Filipino or the ilustrados. Okay, free public school system, establish the educational decree of 1863. Okay, dito natin nakikilala si um, Santo Niño. Okay, it was introduced by Magellan. Okay, so the educational decree of 1863, there is a complete system of education from elementary to the collegiate level. Okay, and then there was an establishment of the elementary schools. Religion was the core of the curriculum. Okay, parang ito talaga yung priority those times. Okay, attendance in school was compulsory between the ages of 7 and 12. Okay, compulsory. Okay, now we go to the our educational during our educational system during the American regime that was from 1898 to 1946. Okay, American promoted democratic ideals and the democratic way of life. Okay, so from a more authoritarian to democratic. Okay, the schools maintained by Spaniards for more 3 centuries were reopened on August 29, 1989 by the Secretary of the Interior. Okay, a system of free and compulsory elementary education was established by the Malolos Constitution. Okay, so still in May 1898, the first American school was established in Corregidor. And then the Thomasites arrived in the Philippines on August 23, 1901. And the University of the Philippines founded in 1908. Okay, so that was 7 years after the Thomasites arrived. So na-found or na-establish na yung University of the Philippines. Ang tagal na pala. Okay? So, Department of Public Instruction set up a three-level school system. Okay, so 7 years elementary. Okay, so 7 year elementary. So 3 years primary and 4 years in intermediate. And then after that, there were four level junior college and 4 year college program. Okay, so that was their school system that time. Now we go to the Commonwealth period that was from 1935 to 1942. Okay, so in 1935 constitution free education in public schools, and then there were the introduction of the vocational education and some household activities, nationalism, life of the Filipino heroes, and the institution of private education. Formal adult education was also given. Okay, so Executive Order number 134 of 1936 by President Manuel L. Quezon, Tagalog as our national language. Okay, so Executive Order number 216, um, still by President Quezon, Code of Ethics. Okay, and another executive orders, order number 263 in 1940, teaching of the Filipino national language in the senior year of all high school and in all years in normal schools, and the institution of private education. formal adult education was also given. Okay, so still in the Commonwealth period, reduction. Dito na pala yung reduction of elementary years. Kaya as of now, there is a grade 1 to grade 6 only. So it is um, it is anchored from the Education Act of 1940. Okay, and then fixing the school entrance age at 7. Okay, 7 years old bago mag grade 1. Okay, national support for elementary education, compulsory attendance of primary children enrolled in grade 1, and then the adoption of double single session in the primary grade with one teacher, one class assignment of intermediate teachers. During the during the Japanese occupation, they make the people understand the position of the Philippines as a member of the East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere. Okay, eradication of idea reliance upon Western states, particularly the U.S. and Great Britain. Okay, fostering a new Filipino culture based on the consciousness of the people as Orientals, elevating the moral of giving up over emphasis on materialism, diffusion of elementary education and promotion of vocation education, striving for the diffusion of the Japanese language in the Philippines, and termination of the use of English in schools. Okay? Developing in people the love of labor. Ito talaga yung culture ng Japanese. Okay? The love of labor. That's why uh, for me, they are successful a country because they are very hard workers. Okay? Now, during the post-colonial Philippines, the education aimed at the full of realization of the democratic ideals and way of life. Okay, the civil service eligibility of teachers was made permanent pursuant to Republic Act 1079 in June 15, 1954, and another Republic Act 1265, a daily compulsory of flag ceremony and the singing of national anthem. Okay. Okay, so curricular offerings in all schools, the life, the works, and the writing of Jose Rizal, and the abolish of matriculation fees and elementary education was nationalized. And Republic Act 4670 is our Magna Carta for us teachers. Okay, so still in the post-colonial Philippines, fundamental aims of education, the foster love of country, teach the duties of citizenship, develop moral character, self-discipline, and scientific, technological, and vocational efficiency. So other development, the integration of moral values, mastery learning, the YDT and CAT introduced. So the Education Act of 1982 created the Ministry of Education, Culture, and Sports. Okay, ito pa yung pangalan ng ang department. Okay? And then the Executive Order number 117 or the NCEE or the National College Entrance Examination was introduced. Okay. And the creation of the board for professional teachers composed of 5 under PRC. That was PBET to LET. Nowadays, LET na po. Okay? So, transfer of authority administering the LET from CSC and DEX to Board of Professional Teachers or the PBET. And still in the other development, refocalization of education system. TESDA now administer the post-secondary middle-level manpower training and development. Republic Act 7796, Technical Education and Skills Development Act of 1994. This is TESDA, right? And then Republic Act 7722, the Higher Education Act of 1994. This is very important for those who will take the let exam. Some of this might come, no, in the exam. Okay, this RA and all this um, Republic Act. Okay, so Republic Act 9155, the Governance of Basic Education Act, transform name from DEX to DepEd. So when I was in elementary, I think that um, we named the department. The name of the department was DEX. Okay, or Department of Education, Culture, and Sports. Okay, and then values education was offered. Okay, and then the Republic Act 1 uh, 1015-7 or the Kindergarten Act. Ito na po yung hindi na pwedeng mag-grade 1 si pupil kung hindi siya dadaan sa kindergarten. Okay? And then RA number 10533 K to 12 program, May 15, 2013. So, dito na yung senior high. Okay? From kinder to senior high. Okay, now we go to the varied goals of education in different historical periods of Philippine history. So, what was considered important in each historical period of the country was also the focus of direction of the education of the Filipino. Okay, so this was just a summary, no, of all the things that we talked um, in the previous slides. Okay, so here in the pre-colonial period, vocational training but lesser academic. Okay, Spanish period focus on religious formation. American regime, good citizens. Okay, well-rounded citizens. Japanese regime, love of labor. Ito na po yung summary ha. And then the post-colonial period, we have here foster love of country, teach the duties of citizenship, develop moral character, self-discipline, scientific, technological, and vocational efficiency. Okay, now we go to the present. Okay, so from a very long, long time ago, now we arrive at the present. Okay, so I hope you still follow. So we are now in the present DepEd vision, mission, core values, and mission of the chat. Okay, so mission to protect and promote the right of every Filipino to quality, equitable, culture based, and complete basic education where students learn in a child friendly, gender sensitive, safe, and motivating environment. Okay. Teachers facilitate learning and constantly nurture every learner. Administrators are and staff as stewards of the institution, ensure an enabling and supportive environment for effective learning to happen. Family, community, and other stakeholders are actively engaged and share responsibility for developing lifelong learners. Okay. So dito pala nakaangkla yung ah, the PTA or the Parent Teachers uh, Association. Okay, so it has to be the family and the community and other stakeholders should be actively engaged and share responsibility in developing lifelong learners. Kasi ito po yon ang pinaka-heart ng vision mission ng isang organization. Okay, it serves us the path or it serves as the roadmap. Ito po yung guide natin. Everything that is implemented in the DepEd is anchored. Okay, it is based on the vision, mission, and all the mandates. Okay, now we go to the vision. So, we dream of Filipinos who passionately love their country and whose values and competencies enable them to realize their full potential and contribute meaningfully to building the nation. As a learner centered public institution, the Department of Education continuously improves itself to better serve its stakeholders. And its core values, makadiyos, makatao, makakalikasan, at makabansa. Okay, so here is the present CHED goals for Philippine education, to produce thoughtful graduates imbued with um, number one, values reflective of a humanist orientation. Example, respect for others as human beings with intrinsic rights, cultural rootedness, a vocation to serve. Okay. And second, analytical and problem solving skills. The ability to think things through an ethical and social implication of a given source of action, and the competency to learn continuously throughout life. Okay, continuous learning. Okay, that will enable them to live meaningfully in a complex, rapidly changing, and globalized world while engaging their community and the nation's development issues and concern. So why do we have to bother with the educational goals of the past, which is past, and so we can no longer undo? Okay. Um, the education, the importance of studying history of education. Okay, so we have to look back so we know where or what is right in the future. Okay, sabi nga, ang hindi marunong lumingon sa pinanggalingan ay hindi makakarating sa paruroonan. Kasi sa past tayo nakakakuha ng mga lessons. If there are things that we are going to improve or to enhance, or if there are things in the past that is not effective, and then we are going to eliminate those. Okay, so it is important to look back. Okay, so here are some of the reasons. The importance of studying history of education. First, educational issues and problems are often rooted in the past. Okay, it is based. The study of educational history can help us to understand and solve today's problem. Kasi nga experience na nga siya in the past. Okay, so it is easier for us to understand the problems today. Okay? Second, realistic effort to reform education being with present condition which are a product of our past. By using our past, we can shape the future. Okay. So let us say mas mas complex yung past. So in the future, we can organize them more properly. Okay. Third, the study of education's past provides a perspective that explains and illuminates our present activities as teachers. Okay, so that would be all. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you get something. No, this presentation is very important to education students and those who will take the LET exam.